All right, hello and welcome everyone. We are back today with another demo session. Today Meek will be demoing Pulumi. And before I get started, we have just a quick introduction to Pulumi here. So we'll be checking out the manual, of course, because as usual, whatever we're showing you is in the manual, so you can go check that out for reference yourself if you want to try it out. As I said, quick introduction on Pulumi, what it is, how it works, and we'll have demo with Meek, and then time for some questions and discussion at the end. Pulumi is open source infrastructure as code platform, and it allows you to work in familiar languages like YAML, Python, Go, also TypeScript, and some others. And unlike traditional IAC tools, Pulumi doesn't require you to work in a domain-specific language. So the one we're mainly thinking about here is Terraform, which is the first infrastructure as code platform that ThreeFold has supported. Terraform uses a domain-specific language, which is great for simple tasks, but if you want to do more complex things, it's very nice in Pulumi to be able to work in a full-blown programming language. You get all the same kinds of benefits in terms of being able to define your infrastructure in some text files, deploy them, tear them down in a way that's reliable in terms of getting you into from one known state to another known state. So Pulumi is very cool. We've all been playing with it for a while since we got the ThreeFold integration working, and it's got some nice features that we'll see here on the next slide. As I mentioned, we have the programming language support and flexibility. This is cool. Not only allows you to define your infrastructure in a familiar programming language, but it also unlocks the ability to complete other steps within that language as part of your deployment. So you can do things like access APIs for, like in this example, we're looking at S3. If you're doing something with S3, you can access the API. Of course, ThreeFold might be thinking about something else, but if you have like domains or DNS, stuff like that, you can access APIs directly using source code, just something that isn't supported, say in Terraform. You'd have to do it with some separate scripts or something like that. This allows also to build your own abstractions in the programming language. So you can create your own classes and functions and things like this that perform certain tasks. You can reuse those. So you can start to build sort of your own scaffolding using the base components that Pulumi gives you, which is a set of classes, or I guess here in Go, they won't be classes, they'll be types or structs or whatever that represent the various types of resources that you can create in your deployment. So it gives you this set of primitive components. In our case, these are your grid primitives, your VMs, your disks, your things like this, and you use those to build up your infrastructure. And then you can create your own abstractions and reusable components from those bases. We also get a full stack development capability, so can manage all of our infrastructure and application code in one place using the same kinds of tools. These could be things like your linters and code formatting, so everything is running with the same tooling. And we have automated state management, so this is something that's familiar from Terraform. You always know the end state that you end up in, if your resources exist or they don't exist. We have interoperability with existing tools like CI/CD type stuff, and a growing ecosystem of libraries. This isn't something that I've personally looked into too much, but again, this ability to generate new code around the base abstractions means that if you develop something cool, then you can share it with others. You can turn it into a library and build an ecosystem around that. And now it's demo time, so I'll hand it over to Meek.
So hi guys, good to be here with you. So for this demo, basically, we want to show you how easy it is to get started from A to Z. So just if we take a look at the manual, can go manual.grid.tf in System Administrator. The Pulumi section has a lot of stuff there. Introduction, installing Pulumi, some deployment example, deployment details, and then we'll have a look at the complete guide. Maybe just to show you a little bit around, you can see here the different benefits. Pulumi is using declarative language, so that's really nice. And so basically, if you want to see the type of files that we'll be using, it's a pulumi.yaml file with capitalized P. So you can have different information there. And also for the ThreeFold package on the Pulumi website. So if you want to have a look there, pulumi.com, registry, packages, ThreeFold. The ThreeFold package is all there. It's fun to have a look. And then if you want to install Pulumi, you can install it on different OS, so Linux, Mac, and Windows. Those are, let's say, basic steps to get you going in different operating system. But we'll see for today, we'll use Docker. So this can be a cross-platform installation, let's say. So on the ThreeFold repository, you have different examples there. So this is just the steps to get you started, but we'll see with the complete example. So right now there are different examples that are basically one-click installation. So virtual machine, Kubernetes, setting network, 0DB database, and then setting a gateway name. And in those examples, we have some make files, so it's easy to create and destroy the deployment. So if you want to have a look, we won't go into details into this part, but this explains all the different components and all the steps. So let's say those are direct Pulumi commands. So you can see when you want to destroy your deployment, you want to log out. But then in the make file, in the ThreeFold repository, you have all the different commands that combine. So this is cool when you want to go quickly. So here we can see some other examples. For today, we'll be creating a virtual machine. So here we'll look at the example, and once you have this, you can play with it. So if you want to see the Pulumi ThreeFold repo here, ThreeFold tech/Pulumi ThreeFold. Here we have an example. We have an example in YAML with the virtual machine. So we'll show you today how to deploy this really quickly, but then you can change it, and you can have some tests, and maybe you want to change the meg or the storage, or you want to deploy on the different farms. So this is really the basic template to get you started. And we'll see here that we're deploying the node with the Planetary and Mycelium IP. So in the complete guides, we can see Pulumi with YAML, Python, and Go. For today, we'll use YAML, but really it's all really simple. So basically, what we want to do the prerequisite, we need a TF chain account with the TFT in it, and then you need to fill it up with TFT, of course, and then on your local machine, you'll need to have Docker installed. So let's say we want to start creating a new account just to show you all the steps. It's really easy. So let's say you come here, create a new account, connect your wallet, want to create an account. Takes a few seconds, and then the account will be created on the grid. So the account is there, then we'll really just use some dummy example for now. So, but usually you should put your own valid email. So now we can connect. So you see here the balance. I don't have a lot of TFT. I'm really poor. So I'm taking note of my twin ID here, and I'm going to on a different dashboard. I change the color so it's clear for you guys. So if you want to send TFT, you just go TF chain, transfer, and then recipient. So I want to send, let's say 50 TFT to this kind soul. Transaction complete. When you come back here, if you refresh, you'll be able to see the transaction has been done. Usually it takes a couple of seconds, so they should be already here. So you can see here now we have the 50 TFT. So for now, of course, the mnemonic, I will show it to you guys because it's just a simple example. So let's say we go back to the deployment steps. So here we want to deploy just a basic Ubuntu, Jammy, can be the different version if you want. So we just copy this, go on the terminal, and then I'm right there in the Ubuntu Docker. So here, this is all the steps you need basically to deploy the example. So if you want to see here the Pulumi example, that's what we've seen just before. So Pulumi ThreeFold example, this is where we're going, the YAML, and then we'll do the virtual machine example. So basically the make file, you can have a look, it's fun. As I showed you before, this make file is just to go quicker. But here we're basically removing what was there before, if it was there, then making a new directory with the state. Then we're logging with Pulumi, and we'll initiate the stack and then put it up. And then if you want to destroy it at the end, you just do make destroy, but basically it will do those different lines. So it's like a combination. So if we go back here, all I need is to paste this here. But you can see there's a couple of things I need to change. So for the mnemonic, you should do this with your own mnemonic, but here we'll use mine on. So let's say we go here, I want to see my public key. I just copy it. Of course, there's different ways to make this like automated, but this is like the basic deployment. So to get started. So here we want to import the mnemonic. So I go to the newly created account. This is fun with the dashboard. You can just take it here. So if you're quicker than me, you can go steal my 50 TFT, but please don't. So here we can see all the script is there. If we go back here, basically we'll deploy on the mainnet. We'll put the public key and then the mnemonic. So then we just run this on the Docker. And also what we'll be using is a Mycelium to connect there. So once this is loading, we'll go on Mycelium. You can set your Mycelium to be running like automatically, but I'm just showing you how to do it manually. So here, sudo, and then we just run the Mycelium here. So here we can see that the Mycelium is running. So we'll be able to connect. So here we are downloading the Pulumi release. So it's setting, installing and extracting to the root the Pulumi package. Then once you're at this stage, it asks you for a password, but you can just press enter, or if you want, put a precise password. So now we see here where we are in the steps. We're in the make run. So if we go in Pulumi ThreeFold, go back to the make file, we're here with the Pulumi up. So basically we say, yeah, we enter the password, which is nothing here. And then we'll download the plugin for ThreeFold. Then you can see here when you're at this point, it's going well. It's now creating the resources, the stack. So it takes, usually it can take only 30 seconds to a minute, but usually very quick. So you can see here, that's the output I want. Mycelium, then the output string, no deployment, planetary IP. So this is being created. You can see the status of the deployment. So you can see here what's fun is that it's using the scheduler. So this, you just put in the requirements you want for your deployment, and it can go on the ThreeFold Grid and find the proper nodes. So here, as we showed before, let's see if we go back here in the example, what it's doing really, it's going on the farm ID 1 and deploying a node with the proper. So this is the scheduler. It will check, okay, we want this amount of meg, this amount of storage, and we want to deploy on farm 1, and then the scheduler will find the node. So when we're done here, we can see it only took 31 seconds, so that's really good. And then we can see the Mycelium IP here. So we can take it here. And let's say I go to another window, right here, then I can SSH hopefully into the VM, and ta-da. So what I did here, I'm now in the micro VM on the ThreeFold Grid, and I deployed on Docker. So maybe just a little recap of the steps, it's really simple. You basically just deploy a Docker Ubuntu container. So this works once your Docker is on Windows, Mac, or Linux. It doesn't matter. You just deploy your Ubuntu Docker, and then you just run this code, the script, with the proper, with your mnemonics and your own public key. So once you have this, it's accessible. So, well, of course, it's not really amazing. Let's say we don't provide you with a user interface and everything, but it's basically the virtual machine is there. But if you wanted to do something more advanced, you can have a look at the example here, and then you can, once you start with this on your end, you have the basic, and then you can expand on it. So this is it. We have the basic deployment, and well, if you want to delete it, you just do make destroy. So I'll keep it in case we want to show some things on the screen, but basically you do make destroy and it will destroy your deployment. So maybe Scott, you have something share on Pulumi. I know you're working on some nice stuff too, because this is really, we show you the basic just to get you started, but since you can work with different languages, it's really fun what you can do with different types of languages, especially Python. It's really easy to make some loops and do some complex deployment.
Yeah, for sure. So what we saw today is kind of the equivalent of what you can do in Terraform, just on the Pulumi side, working in YAML, which is sort of roughly equivalent to the HashiCorp configuration language Terraform is using. But yeah, as we mentioned, there's some cool stuff that you can do when you're working in other languages, programming languages that give you full expressibility. So one project I've been working on over the last few days is a Pulumi script that deploys a VM and then executes a shell script inside the VM immediately afterwards to install and bring up the dashboard inside. So actually, since we have SwissFold here, I was doing this specifically because I wanted a way to quickly create just a temporary deployment of a custom version of the dashboard that in this case deploys an updated version of the Nextcloud F-list. So this is something that Pulumi is pretty cool for, because you can just basically embed your script right in the deployment logic, and then with a single command you bring up the VM, execute the script remotely, and also it has the dashboard included, so that's all very nice. Yeah, and then I'm looking at some future use cases. Like, I think it would be fun. Yeah, here's where I'm working on it in GitHub. I think it would be fun to do something also around like quantum safe storage, where you'd be able to automate some of the initial steps. Like when you're setting up the quantum storage, you need to generate some passwords and some encryption keys and things like this. So I think it'd be cool if we could do that all in an
And this would
automated
be
way.
harder to do with Terraform, right? Since with Pulumi you can make all your script with Python, and then your logic would be all there in one file, maybe.
Yeah, so I don't know for sure, but I don't think there's any way to do. And Terraform does have some facilities for things like executing commands on the remote machine after you create your deployment. And generally the advice is like, don't use this unless you absolutely need to. So
Yeah.
people that are in this business and doing this in a serious way would be probably using other tools to do the post deployment setup of their machines. But for the rest of us who are just kind of hacking around and having some fun, Pulumi is
Yeah.
really powerful, because you don't need to reach for a
Good.
separate tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can integrate everything in one. And as far as like, I don't know what kind of facilities Terraform has for generating secrets and things like this. Maybe it has, maybe it does. But the nice thing when working in Pulumi is that if you already know some things about Python, you don't need to go and look for, how do I do this in Terraform? How do I do this with the HashiCorp language, etc. You can just use the knowledge that you already have, or draw on all the information that's already out there about how to do things in Python, which is a vast amount of information.
Maybe just to close up, I'll show you guys, if you want to basically just stop your deployment. You just do make destroy, and then of course you need to put your pass rate. So you can see here then the deployment is being undone, destroying, and what it's actually doing here, it's just running this this make file. I'll show you here. So this is something you could do manually. You could run all those lines yourself. Pulumi destroy, Pulumi stack, Pulumi logout. So of course, if you're doing your own deployment and you need something more advanced, maybe you can just change the make file here. So it's really fun. Once you get the knack out of it, you can just expand on this and just have a quick look, maybe some Kubernetes. If you want to deploy Kubernetes, it's really kind of the same thing here. We'll be using a scheduler to deploy on farm one. Then we want a little bit more storage and memory here, but the overall logic is the same. So we want to deploy Kubernetes, so you can just even put it right there in the name. So it's really to show you how simple it is. And of course, the demo is not really groundbreaking, but it's the hard stuff has been done in the background. So now if you want to explore this, it's really just one click. And if you want to have a Go, now we have the Go, Node.js, and Python too. So let's say if you want Python, same thing here. You can deploy, let's say ZDB. So a little bit more files here when you deploy with Python. So you'll have a main. Maybe Scott, you want to say something on the difference when you deploy, let's say Python versus a YAML?
Overall, it's actually pretty similar. Like I was saying, Python opens up some new opportunities for you. Like you can do stuff like read your SSH key off of disk instead of inserting it directly. I'm not sure if Pulumi allows you to do that in YAML. It's possible that it might. But one thing I was going to say, it's also very cool about how Pulumi works is that all of the code for the different languages is auto-generated. So if you're wondering, it's not as if our developers had to write code in Go and TypeScript and Python. Yeah. It auto-generates all of the code that's needed to work in all the different languages. And it can also convert from one form to another. So like our examples are in YAML originally, I believe, and then are converted into the other languages. This also means that if you start in YAML and you start building up a deployment, and then one day you decide like you want to move into a language that's more expressive, like Python or TypeScript, you can actually ask Pulumi to automatically convert the YAML file that you have into the other language, and it can do that automatically. So that's kind of cool too, might be of interest.
This is possible, I guess, because it's using declarative programming.
Yeah, so that's the sense in which you have a subset of a programming language that can be expressed in YAML, right? So all the things that you can do in YAML, you can also express in a programming language. But once you get into the programming language, then you can go beyond and you can do stuff that wouldn't be able to convert it back into YAML. Yeah, so as long as you're in this declarative domain, you can freely convert.
So do you guys have any questions? Maybe you have a project in mind that you would like to do with Pulumi, or? Maybe you want to give us a challenge, something we can do in the following days, and we'll show you how easy it is to do on the grid. All right.
Everyone was blown away by your demo. They're speechless.
I know, it was too easy, right? Complete guides on the manual, you just click one basic script and it's done.
Maybe in a future demo we can do something a bit more advanced, but this is a great introduction and foundation.
Yeah, that's a good point. So consider this as an introduction to Pulumi, and then next time we can show you a little bit more. This next time I think we should explore maybe more on the Python side and how you can make some nice Python programs that make the most of the Pulumi stack. So good to have you here, guys, and see you for the next demo.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and thank you, Meek.